Hey guys, this is the second time I've tried this live stream thing. Still seems like it's okay, so fingers crossed that it continues on being okay. As you can see from the subject line, I'm going to things that I'm really liking, a few favorites, if you will. And also my trick, my one weird trick for looking younger. Actually, it's not that weird of a trick. I think that women who are a little older, just starting out in makeup, may not be aware of this trick. And why don't I just start with that one? No, you know what? I'm going to make you wait. I'm going to make you wait till the end. Make you sit through this whole video. Okay, so let's just start with favorites. I've only got 5 here. And one of them, if you read the description, one of them segues into how I make my other skincare products work better. So there's some interesting stuff for you there to pass the time while you wait for my one weird trick for looking younger. Okay, so I've got my products here lined up. I apologize for looking so scruffy today. I just didn't feel like getting dressed, although I did feel like putting on makeup. So, I mean, you know how it is. Makeup's kind of fun. It's relaxing. But some days you don't want to put on pants. Let's get started, shall we? I talked about this one last week. It's the only one I think that is a repeat. So I will start with that one. This is the Bare Minerals. What is this called? I actually have it this week. Oh, wait, no, I had it last week too. Durr. The Bare Minerals. They don't have the name on it, but it's the blush, bronzer, and luminizer palette from the holiday line, the Royal whatever line. And the reason I like this so much is that it has my favorite blush and bronzer in it in the ready format. Usually these are loose minerals. I have the bronzer is Warmth, and that's the name of it, Warmth, and the blush is Golden Gate. And I have these as loose minerals. I have never had them as pressed minerals, which I prefer. I just find them much less messy and easier to use. So I definitely prefer them in their pressed format. And also they've put them together in a palette, easy to throw in my bag and go palette, which will probably, once it's lost its newness and novelty, it will probably live in my gym bag, just because it's so easy and convenient, and it has my favorite Bare Minerals bronzer and blush. And yeah, so yes, these are my favorites. My favorite Bare Minerals bronzer and blush. I really love Golden Gate in general. Actually, I love both of these in general. They're very high up there of all bronzer and blushes. Let me swatch these for you. They're very nice. The Warmth is a very kind of reddish, warm bronzer, and Golden Gate is a very neutral pink that should look good on most people, probably why they used it in this palette. And then the luminizer is Clear Radiance. I don't usually use luminizers, so this one won't get a lot of use. Let me swatch that for you. It is here. So you can kind of see, there's really not much to see. It's got a very, very faint pink undertone. Anyway, so yes, this is $29. I think, yes, $29, which I think is a really reasonable price for 3 products in a handy, handy dandy palette. Yeah, and I've seen it on beauty.com, Ulta, Sephora, Nordstrom, everywhere that sells Bare Minerals. I've seen this. It's easy to get your hands on, and it's something I think is fantastic. I will probably even buy a backup of this. Okay, something that I think you can only get at Ulta, we're going from available everywhere to available only at Ulta, is this really, really nice CK1 lipstick called Undressed. It is the shade 140 Undressed, and it is I'm wearing it now. It is a neutral rosy nude. I have never used CK1 products, and I'm super impressed with the formula and the color in general. The color is just perfect. I've been wearing this nonstop since I got it a few weeks ago. But the formula is really nice. It's moisturizing and just satiny enough to give a little bit of a sheen, but not super in your face. It's nice for older lips, I think. It doesn't make my lips look all wrinkly like a lot of lipsticks that are coming out recently do, just because the whole matte lipstick thing is so popular. I really like matte lipstick. I'm not knocking it. I just kind of need to do some finagling to make them not make my lips look really dry. And I think that that's because my lips are older and more mature. So yeah, this one doesn't have that. It's very nice, very soft and moisturizing, and the color is lovely, very neutral, very wearable, very, you know, work friendly. Yeah. You're not going to embarrass your kids, although I think if you're like me, you want to embarrass your kids. It's like your life's mission, right? So I try to wear the craziest stuff. But I like this. I've been wearing this a lot. All right, next. This one's only available at Sephora because it is the Sephora brand. This is my new favorite mascara, and it is $10, maybe $12. So it is very comparable to drugstore prices. I have one coat on my lashes today, and I've been wearing this for several hours, and it still has really good definition and blackness. So I'm, you know, I feel like this has super good staying power. This is the wand. As you can see, it's very small, very short. The bristles are very short. It gives my lashes, it makes them very defined. It gives them volume. Not so much with the length, but that is not something that I'm concerned with. I have long lashes, so I don't worry about that. It's called the Outrageous Curl Dramatic Volume and Curve. I can't speak for the curl because my lashes curl on their own. It's not, again, something that I am worried about, but I will say that I definitely get the volume, definitely get definition. I really like this. It's so easy to get on. It doesn't make a mess of my eyelids, which is kind of like my litmus test. I don't think I'm terribly inept at putting on mascara, but some mascaras I will come away with mascara all over my eyelids. And, you know, I used to think it was because my eyelids were hooded or I was, you know, had an unsteady hand, but I get it from some mascaras and not others. So I think it's a wand thing or a formula thing. I don't know, but don't get that with this. And more than anything, I only need one coat and it goes on easy. I don't need to clean up when I'm done. I don't need to go back in and clean it up. So this is very reasonably priced and I love the way it performs. And yeah, it's good stuff. All right, my last makeup thing is the Bobbi Brown. What is this called? Brightening Finishing Powder. It's in this reflective, very fingerprinty case. And it looks like this. It is the multicolored, oh great, you can't even see, multicolored powder. As you can see, it's got like the purple and green and pink and yellow and white. And you can also see that I have hit pan on that. I've had this for a while, long enough to hit pan, and I really like this. For comparison, I have a few of the ambient lighting powders from Hourglass, and I like them. I have the palette, and then I have the diffuse light, I think it is. And I don't use these nearly as much This I use just under the eyes to set my concealer, and it gives, I didn't use it today, by the way. I can't remember what I used, but I used something else, and I feel like what I used today is a little heavier, and, you know, I prefer this to what I used today. This is very light, very finely milled, and very kind of ethereal. It gives just this very subtle glow that enhances but doesn't, you know, scream glow, 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 shimmer, you know. It's very nice, very work friendly. I'm going to say it again, very natural looking. Yeah, it's good stuff. This is in the porcelain pearl. They also have one in, I think, nude, which is more of, I think it's supposed to be an all over thing. I have never tried that one. Although someday I probably will, because I like this one so much. But I recommended on a forum somewhere, some makeup forum, Sephora website, as an alternative to the ambient lighting powder. And I tried it, and I like it better. And I use it a lot more often. So if you like those but don't love them, this might be something worth trying out. Yeah, it's kind of a luxury item. So there's that. NYX makes a similar one. NYX has their Radiant Finishing Powder. I have tried this, obviously I have it. I don't like it as much. I find it's definitely not as finely milled. It looks a lot heavier on. It's, you know, cakier. But it's kind of the same idea. And I think on younger skin, it definitely should do just as good a job. For older skin, the finely milled issue is going to be more of an issue. So yeah, for older skin, I would recommend the Bobbi Brown over the NYX, but they are kind of, you know, NYX is obviously a knockoff. Yeah. All right, skincare. So last time I was at my doctor, I was asking her about acne because I was breaking out a lot. And the reason I was breaking out a lot was because I was not exercising enough, because I was recovering from surgery. And I knew that that was why I was breaking out, because, you know, exercise helps with hormones and blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't exercise as much as I needed to in general, as much as I need to keep my hormones in sane amber land, but also to, you know, kind of control my acne. So I was asking her about, you know, what topical things I can use while I, you know, work back up to the amount of exercise that is most helpful. And she gave me a lot of information, and a prescription for Retin-A, which I've been using, and which has helped with my acne, but also is really improving the texture of my skin, and which I'll probably stay on because of that. It's like, you know, I'm seeing my fine lines diminish here a little bit, and my pores are less visible, and everything in general is just a little bit smoother, which I like. I mean, who's gonna shake a stick at that? That's a nice little side effect. So I will probably stay on Retin-A for that. But she recommended, for in general, to reduce the irritation from acne control medications, to use your moisturizer first and give it 10 minutes to kind of sink in, and then put your acne medications on. I can't do that. I have oily skin. What's going on with my, I just realized that my earrings are all tangled up. I have oily skin. I could never do that. You know, I have always had kind of a mental block against moisturizer, especially before using my acne products, because I see my acne products as, you know, partially there to control oil, and I'm like, no, it'll never work. But then the Retin-A started drying out my skin, and I thought, hey, you know what? Let's just try listening to the doctor. the doctor knows. Why are Americans so stupid? Why do we always think we know better than doctors? What's wrong with us? Why do we always think we know better than doctors? Even I, who have been telling people for years, go to your doctor, still fell into this trap. Like, oh, I know better than my doctor. I don't need to listen to my doctor. You know where I'm going with this. I tried it, and not only did I stop having the dryness, the peeling skin that I was having, all of my other skincare stuff started working better. Of course, including the retin-A. I started seeing dramatic improvements in every area. So, and less irritation and yada, yada, yada. So the moisturizer that I've been using, let me take a step back. The moisturizer I've been using for several years now is the Olay Regenerist Broad Spectrum SPF 50. And I use this, and I have used this just during the day because of the SPF 50. And I mix it with my moisturizer, and I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, with my foundation. And this has been my moisturizer for a long time because it is very non-greasy and it is for oily skin. But it wasn't cutting it. I was still getting dried out from the retin-A. So I decided to go for something that was truly for dry skin for the first time in my life. So I went to the drugstore. Well, first I went to Paula's Choice and I got some suggestions. And then I went to the drugstore and I ended up picking out the CeraVe Skin Renewing Night Cream. And I thought, okay, this is probably going to be too greasy, too heavy. I'm probably not going to like it. But I put it on that night and it wasn't greasy and it wasn't heavy. It was actually very nice. Not greasy at all. It was very comfortable. In fact, for me with oily skin, who my whole life has hated the feeling of greasy, moisturizing, oily stuff on my face. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. This was very nice. And so I put that on and then I put my acne products over that. And ever since then, everything has been working better. I've seen dramatic improvements in the texture of my skin, in my acne. I've been breaking out less. I never would have guessed, but there was distinct improvement from the point where I started putting on moisturizer before my skincare products. It was like I can measure from that day. That was the day things started working better. And my doctor told me to do it. So it was another lesson in humility and listening to my doctor. And yes, my doctor went to medical school and has been treating people for years and probably knows a little bit more about this stuff than I do because I didn't go to medical school. So I will listen to my doctor. Probably until the next time I think I know better than my doctor. But yeah, the CeraVe Skin Renewing Night Cream, very nice, even for oily skin. It has completely turned around the dryness that I was having. And I think that moisturizer before skincare products in general, like my doctor said, is a good thing. She told me that my skincare products would work better if I put my moisturizer in first. And it has in fact been true. Don't you hate that? All right, last thing. So I told you I was going to tell you my one weird trick for looking younger. And I think that, you know, lots of people already know this and do this. But there's a certain group of people who may not know this, and that is people who are just getting into makeup when they're older, like in their 30s, maybe 40s, maybe even 50s. You're just getting into makeup and you're getting your information about makeup from YouTube. And the people on YouTube are generally younger. So the tips they're giving are tips that will work really well for people with young skin, but may not be ideal for people with older skin, like me. The biggest issue that I have with makeup the way that young people do makeup is that really heavy foundation is in style right now. Really heavy, very full coverage, like almost like a mask, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is the style, and I love the way it looks. My one of my daughters is really into makeup. She's into makeup artistry, and she will do the most gorgeous faces. And she will start with a very heavy coverage foundation, and it kind of just creates this beautiful canvas. However, when you're older and you have lines and you have pores, using foundation that heavy makes you look older. It makes you look a lot older because it sinks into your pores, it sinks into your lines and makes them look a lot more obvious. It sinks into your creases and you know, your crow's feet, and your pores are all speckly. It just makes everything that is older about your face look even older. So it's a little counterintuitive. You think, oh yeah, all that makeup is going to hide all these flaws. No, it really doesn't. It hides things like, you know, spots and pimples and stuff. But when it comes to lines and pores, it makes them look worse. So, of course, I know that there are people that this is not true for, and you know, your mileage may vary. You may have very different skin than me, in which case, keep on doing what you're doing. But if you're like me and heavy foundation makes you look not the way that you want to look, and you're finding, you know, you're looking cakey and your lines are showing and you've got creasing and that's not what you want, then what I have found is mixing my foundation with moisturizer. Not even half and half, but like 2/3 moisturizer, 1/3 foundation, and then just putting it on with my fingers. You can use a brush, but I find that generally brushes give me an even heavier coverage than fingers, so I'll just put it on like moisturizer with my fingers all over down my décolleté. Use one with a sunscreen, so you're protecting your skin while you're also covering. So you've got a very sheer moisturizing finish going on. You don't have, the moisturizer is going to help the foundation keep it from, you know, sinking in and looking cakey. It's kind of going to help it stay, I don't even know what the right word is, emollient? I'm not sure. But it's going to keep it from getting cakey. And then it's also going to be sheer, so you're not going to, even if it does get cakey, it's not going to be really heavy cakiness. It's going to be light and not obvious, and you can just swipe it away if you need to. So that's step one with a liquid foundation. So just mix it with moisturizer, and then you go back in with concealer to hide any you know, age spots or pimples or other spots that you want to hide. And if you're using a powder foundation, what you want to do is do your moisturizer first, and then you're going to want to use a looser brush like this one with looser hairs, as opposed to I should have had brushes handy, but as opposed to a more dense brush like this with very dense, close hairs like this. The looser, less dense brush will produce a much lighter application of powder. And that's pretty much it. Same thing though. You do the powder, and then you can either do concealer first, or you can go back in after the powder and put some concealer on, and then use a finishing powder, something very light, finely milled, like the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores or the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. You want something very, very finely milled when you have lines and wrinkles and pores. I find a lot of the drugstore powders, finishing powders, aren't. There's a few that are okay. The e.l.f. one is pretty good, and there is a Neutrogena one that's pretty good, but a lot of them are too heavy. So okay, let's recap. Mix your liquid foundation with moisturizer. Use a light fluffy brush for powder foundations. Use concealer after or before after the liquid foundation, and before or after the powder foundation to cover anything that you need to hide. Well, want to hide. You don't need to hide anything. You're perfect just the way you are, and you don't need to hide anything. But anything you want to hide that day, use concealer to hide. Don't depend on your foundation to hide things, because if you are using heavy enough foundation to hide things, then it's so heavy that it's probably going to look heavy and do the things heavy foundations do on older skin. Then finishing powder. You want something very light and finely milled. My favorite of all time is the IT Cosmetics by Pores. Other good ones are the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. There's the, let's see, Tarte has a really nice one. I find that the higher end ones tend to be a little better here. If you need to go drugstore, then there's an e.l.f. one, an e.l.f. finishing powder that's nice. There is, it's the one for oily skin. I think it's called blotting powder or oil control powder, but it's very nice. It's very finely milled. But a lot of the other finishing powders from drugstore brands are really designed for younger skin and are too heavy, I've found, for my skin, and make my flaws, which I don't consider flaws, but make my lines and pores more evident, not less evident. So those are, that's my one weird trick. I guess that ended up being more than one for looking younger. And it isn't really looking younger, because you actually look youngest without any makeup at all. But when putting foundation on, at least that's my opinion. But when you've put foundation on and you want to look youngest with foundation, those are the tricks that I've found work best for me and my skin as a 42-year-old with, you know, typical 42-year-old skin things like wrinkles and pores, and yeah. Okay, this went way too long. I apologize for that. If you kept watching, thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Oh, sign up for my mailing list. I'm really trying to get my blog more regular, and I will send out newsletters before I do a video, letting you guys know what my video is going to be about, so you can ask questions and I can answer them online. How cool is that? All right, thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time.